Hey guys, tonight we're heading deep into the sun-scorched, unforgiving world of an animal you think you know, the red kangaroo. You've seen them in documentaries bounding effortlessly across the outback like they're on giant, furry pogo sticks. It looks majestic, powerful, almost easy, but trust me, being a red kangaroo is nothing like a graceful nature montage. It's a brutal, thirst-fueled, moment-to-moment fight for survival. And honestly, it's a life that would absolutely crush you before the morning heat even peaked. So as we settle in, feel free to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy the stories we share here. Let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from, and what time it is in your part of the world. It's always amazing to see who's joining us from all across the globe. Now, maybe find the coolest room in your house, grab yourself a glass of water, make it a big one, and just appreciate the feeling of not being thirsty for a minute. Let's ease into tonight's journey together, into the dry, dusty heart of the Australian outback. That cool glass of water in your hand, forget it. You don't get luxuries like that. Your day doesn't begin with a gentle sunrise and a feeling of refreshment. It begins at dusk. With a jolt, you awaken not because you're rested, but because your body forces you to. The air isn't cool. It's just slightly less of a furnace than it was a few hours ago. Imagine spending all day in a sauna, finally opening the door and stepping into another, slightly less hot sauna. That's your evening. Your body is a machine built for one primary purpose: hide from the sun. All day you've been in a state of forced shutdown, conserving every precious drop of moisture, every calorie. You've been tucked under the thin shade of a mulga shrub, your muscles locked, your breathing shallow. Now, as the brutal glare of the sun finally bleeds into a deep orange across the horizon, your internal alarm clock goes off, and it doesn't have a snooze button. A deep ache radiates from your powerful hind legs, stiff from hours of stillness. Your fur is hot to the touch, and the dust sticks to your coat like a second skin. Thirst isn't just a feeling in your throat, it's a full-body condition, a humming emptiness that overpowers everything else. Hunger is a close second. You haven't eaten in over 12 hours, and your entire system is screaming for fuel. You're not waking up to start your evening. You're waking up to begin the nightly race against starvation. So the race begins not with a bang, but with a groan. Your first move isn't a powerful leap into the twilight. It's an awkward, clumsy shuffle. You push up on your small, delicate forelimbs, the ones you barely think about, and use your thick, muscular tail as a grimy kickstand. Then you heave your huge hind legs forward, scraping them through the red dirt. This is called pentapedal locomotion, but it doesn't feel technical, it feels broken. It feels like you're dragging half your body behind the other half, just to get upright. Once you're standing, you don't move, you listen. Your big ears, like two separate radar dishes, swivel independently. One aims toward the faint rustle in the spinifex grass, the other cocks toward the horizon. Your eyes, set high on your head, don't focus. They scan, taking in a 300-degree panorama of flat, empty space. You're looking for any movement that isn't the wind, any silhouette that doesn't belong, a dingo's slinking form, the shadow of a late-hunting eagle. Your brain is a threat detection system, and it's just being rebooted. Around you, the rest of the mob is coming to life in the same slow, stiff way. A mother, her pouch heavy with a joey, hauls herself to her feet with a weary sigh. A young male gives his body a violent, dust cloud-releasing shake. They all look as tired as you feel. This isn't a social gathering. It's a silent, mutual understanding. We are all thirsty, we are all hungry, and we must move, slowly, stiffly. The scattered line of dusty shapes begins to drift out from the thin sanctuary of the shrubs, a silent procession into the vast, hungry emptiness of the night. To move is to grapple with a body that feels fundamentally alien. Your brain, used to the simple mechanics of two legs, screams that this is wrong. The pentapedal shuffle is laborious, a clumsy five-pointed rhythm. Your tiny forearms act as props, your giant tail becomes a fifth limb, and your hind legs drag forward. It feels less like walking, and more like dragging a piece of heavy, broken machinery. Every slow step forward is a complex sequence. Plant hands, heave tail, drag feet. It's exhausting, but this is the gear for grazing. The slow, shuffling gait that lets you search the parched earth for any hint of green. But then the mob decides to cover more ground, and your body remembers a motion you, the human inside, have never known. It coils. You sink down, and for a split second all that muscle and potential energy is compressed into your haunches. And then you release. It's not a jump, it's a launch. Your hind legs aren't just muscle, they are colossal springs, and the tendons are bands of elastic steel. The first bound is a shock, a sudden weightless arc through the cooling air. You don't feel like you're pushing off the ground, you feel like the ground has forcefully ejected you. For a terrifying moment, you're airborne, convinced you're about to land face first in the dirt. But that's where the tail comes in. It's no longer a kickstand, it's a 50-pound rudder, a slab of muscle and bone swinging in a perfect, powerful counterbalance to your legs. As you land, your tendons stretch, absorbing the impact, storing almost all of it, ready to fire you into the next bound, hop, land, coil, release. It's a feeling of falling and being caught by a spring at the last possible second. Over and over, you realize with a jolt of primal awe, this is what you were built for. This strange, effortless, silent flight. The clumsy shuffle was for eating. This is for living. But this silent, rhythmic flight across the plains is not for joy, it's for survival. And even as you bound through the twilight, that humming full-body thirst from before is right there with you. A constant, nagging passenger. Your mouth feels like it's full of dust. Your tongue is thick and tacky. You can feel the heat radiating, not just from the air around you, but from deep inside your own body, a furnace that threatens to burn through your precious reserves of moisture. Then, an instinct takes over. You stop. Just for a moment you pause your forward motion, and without thinking, you bring your forearms up to your mouth, and you begin to lick, methodically, a long, wet swipe from your elbow to your wrist, coating the fur in your own saliva. You're not grooming yourself, you're trying to stay alive. You can feel the immediate, shocking coolness as the moisture begins to evaporate. The skin on your arms is thin here, covering a complex network of blood vessels lying just beneath the surface. As the saliva dries, it pulls heat directly from your blood, a desperate, brilliant act of self-preservation. But the relief is fleeting, a ghost of coolness that vanishes almost as soon as you feel it, and you're left with the grim reality of what you just did. You used your body's own precious water to fight the heat that's stealing it. It's a transaction that leaves you poorer, a temporary fix that only highlights how close to the edge you really are. The thirst roars back, and you know this desperate cooling trick won't be enough. You need to find water, or food that holds water, and you need to find it soon. That desperate anointment of saliva is a losing game, and you know it. The only real solution is to find something to put inside your body, so you move, following the silent, drifting shapes of your mob. The bounding stops as abruptly as it began, and you're back to that clumsy 5-point crawl, because the mob has found something, a patch of something. You wouldn't call it grass. It's more like the ghost of grass, brittle yellowed stalks that look less like food and more like kindling. You lower your head, the world shrinking to a dusty patch of earth between your forepaws. Your mouth, already dry, closes around a clump of the stuff. The texture is awful. It's stiff, fibrous and sharp, scraping against the inside of your cheeks. It's like chewing on a bundle of dry wires. Your powerful jaw muscles work, grinding the tough cellulose, but it feels like you're getting almost nothing in return. There's barely any moisture, just a dusty, woody taste. This isn't a meal, it's a chore. But the worst part isn't the taste. It's the vulnerability. With your head down, you are blind and deaf to the world. And so, every few seconds, a jolt of pure panic fires through your nervous system. Your head snaps up. You stop chewing. Your ears swivel. Your nostrils flare. Your eyes scan the horizon for any hint of movement, any shape that is darker than the surrounding darkness. You listen for the snap of a twig that isn't you. Only when the all-clear sounds in your brain do you lower your head again for another few mouthfuls of flavorless fiber. Eat, panic, scan, repeat. It's a miserable, anxiety-ridden rhythm, and the energy you're consuming barely registers against the energy you're expending just to find it and stay alive while eating it. And in those frozen moments of scanning, your brain isn't just processing information, it's being flooded by it. This is not the sensory world you're used to. It's a system built for paranoia. Your ears aren't just hearing. They are conducting two separate investigations at once. One ear remains half-cocked toward the mob. A low-frequency hum of soft chewing and shuffling feet. That's your baseline, your sound of safety. But your other ear swivels away, pointing out into the vast silent darkness, actively hunting for a single sound that does not belong. You are listening for the absence of sound, a silence too deep, or the faint scrape of a claw on rock half a kilometer away. At the same time, your vision is a disorienting, all-encompassing nightmare. Your eyes, perched on the sides of your head, don't give you a focused image. They give you a warped panoramic screen where the edges are always moving. You don't have a forward, really. You have an around. You see the mob beside you and the empty plains behind you at the same time. Without turning your head, it's an almost perfect sphere of awareness, which means there is no safe direction. There is no blind spot for a predator to hide in, but there is also no blind spot for you to rest in. Every flicker is a potential threat. A blade of grass twitching in the wind is analyzed and dismissed in a split second. A distant shadow that shifts is tracked until it resolves back into a rock. You aren't seeing the world, you are cross-examining it, and every object is guilty until proven innocent. This state of high alert is exhausting. Another quiet drain on your energy. It's a constant low-grade terror that makes the dry, worthless grass in your mouth feel like an even more pathetic reward for the risk you're taking. That state of high alert, paranoid foraging can only last so long, because a far greater threat than any dingo is on its way. In the east, the black sky begins to soften into a bruised purple, and a silent universal command ripples through the mob. Time's up. The nightly race against starvation is over. The daily war against the sun is about to begin. You don't need to finish eating. You need to disappear. So you find your spot. It's the same pathetic scrap of shade under the same scraggly mulga shrub you abandoned 12 hours ago. You scrape away the top layer of sun-baked earth to get to the slightly cooler dirt beneath, and then you just stop. You hunker down, tuck your limbs in, and let a deep lethargy settle over you. This isn't a choice. It's a mandatory biological shutdown. For the next 10 to 12 hours, your only job is to do nothing, absolutely nothing. And it is the hardest work you will ever do. As the sun climbs, the air becomes thick enough to chew, the shade you're in shrinks, offering less and less protection. The ground beneath you radiates heat, slow cooking you from below. Flies, drawn by the faint moisture at the corners of your eyes and nose, become a living, crawling torment. You learn to ignore them. A twitch of your nose costs water, a flick of your ear costs energy. You can't afford either. This is not rest. It is a siege. You lie there, panting shallowly, feeling the sun's hammer on the world outside your little patch of shadow. You feel the thirst not as a desire, but as a physical state of being. A gradual drying of every cell in your body. Your powerful legs, the ones that launched you across the plains, are now just dead weight. To use them would be suicide, generating a firestorm of internal heat that would cook you from the inside out. Your survival depends on stillness. Your life is measured in the calories you don't burn, the drops of water you don't sweat. You're a prisoner in your own body, and your sentence is to simply endure until the tyrant sun finally sets. The ordeal is over. For now, dusk bleeds across the sky again, releasing you from your self-imposed prison of stillness. As you heave yourself up, feeling the familiar ache in your legs and the sandpaper of thirst in your throat, you see them, the others, the dusty red shapes that are also blinking themselves back to life. This is your mob. But you need to get one thing straight. This is not your family. This is not your herd or your pack. These are not your friends. This is a temporary alliance of convenience, a loose collection of strangers held together by a single, unspoken agreement. It is slightly harder for a predator to kill you when there are other options standing nearby. You don't know their names. You don't care about their well-being. The big male nearby isn't your protector. He's just a larger, more appealing target for a pack of dingoes. The mother with the joey isn't a fellow parent. She's a slow-moving distraction. There are no greetings, no nods of acknowledgement. Last night's mob had a few different faces. Tomorrow, some of these might be gone. New kangaroos might drift in. The group is as fluid as water on dry earth. It finds the path of least resistance and evaporates without a trace. The only thing you share is a collective sense of paranoia. Your 300-degree field of vision is now part of a larger, overlapping grid of anxiety. more ears listening for the scrape of a claw on stone, more noses scenting the air. And it works. In a cold, statistical way, a lone dingo might think twice. A pack will still test you, running along the edges of the mob, trying to spook someone, to separate the weak or the slow from the group. So you instinctively try to stay in the middle, you shuffle a little closer to the big male, not for comfort, but to use his body as a shield. The mob is a living meat shield, and your only job is to make sure you're not the one on the outside. And then, in an instant, the cold statistical safety of the mob evaporates. It begins not with a sight, but with a sound your entire being is engineered to dread, a high, mournful cry that cuts through the night and freezes the marrow in your bones. Your head snaps up, mouth full of half-chewed grass. On the edge of the darkness, silhouettes detach from the deeper shadows. They are low to the ground, lean and patient. Dingoes. There is no group strategy. There is no defense. There is only a single, silent, biological command screamed by every cell in your body. Run. The mob doesn't scatter. It explodes in a terrifying, chaotic blast of dust and panicked motion. Every kangaroo is for itself. The living shield you were hiding in has just disintegrated into 50 individual escape attempts. And in that chaos, you were chosen. You don't know why. Maybe you were a step too slow. Maybe you were on the wrong side. It doesn't matter. Two of the shadows break off, and they are flowing over the ground directly toward you. All the aches and stiffness in your body vanish, replaced by a surge of pure, high-octane adrenaline. You coil and launch, not with the measured grace of travel, but with the explosive terror of a rocket. Bound, bound, bound. You are flying, propelled by the most powerful legs on the continent. The ground becomes a red blur beneath you, the wind a roar in your ears. For a few seconds you feel an insane burst of hope. You are speed incarnate. Nothing can catch you. But they don't have to. You glance back. A desperate, jerking motion that almost throws you off balance. They are still there. They aren't sprinting. They are loping. An effortless, ground-eating trot that seems impossibly slow, yet they are not falling behind, and the horrifying truth dawns on you. This isn't a race of speed. This is a race of endurance. You are a biological drag racer, burning all your fuel in one spectacular, desperate burst. They are a diesel engine, built to run forever. They won't outrun you. They will outlast you. They will simply run you until your giant, powerful springs snap, until your heart bursts, until you fall, and they are not getting tired, but you are. Somehow you escape. Maybe it's a desperate, impossible leap over a fence. The dingoes can't follow. Maybe in the chaos, they peel off after a weaker, slower target. The reason doesn't matter. What matters is the aftermath. You are alive, but you are running on empty. A fire burns in your lungs, your muscles are trembling bundles of screaming lactic acid, and your heart is hammering against your ribs like a trapped bird. You've just burned through a year's worth of energy in a 3-minute panic. All you want to do is collapse. But you can't, because as the adrenaline from the chase recedes, a different, more ancient instinct flares up. Nearby, a female stands, and a certain scent in the air tells you she's receptive. It's a biological imperative that overrides your exhaustion, but you're not the only one who smells it. He is huge, a dominant boomer, twice your size, his fur a deep, intimidating rust red. He wasn't the one running for his life moments ago. He is rested, he is powerful, and he sees you. He doesn't look at you with aggression at first, but with a kind of cold assessment. He puffs out his chest, flexing muscles you didn't know a kangaroo could have. He leans down, rips a shrub out of the ground by its roots, and tosses it aside, as if it were a weed. It's a display of casual, terrifying strength, and it's aimed right at you. Every survival instinct you have screams at you to get away. You are depleted, you are no match for him, but turning your back is a sign of submission, a forfeiture you are not biologically programmed to make. So you stand your ground, and the fight begins. It's not a noble duel. It's a clumsy, brutal brawl. You lock forearms, grappling and shoving, trying to push him off balance. His grip is like iron. Then, he leans back, balancing his entire weight on that thick, muscular tail, freeing up both of his colossal hind legs. And you realize in a sickening flash what's about to happen. He doesn't kick like a horse. He thrusts. A double-footed strike with claws sharp enough to gut you. You twist away, and the blow glances off your side, a searing line of fire that rips through fur and skin. The pain is electric. You try to retaliate, to balance on your own tail and kick back, but your body is spent, your movements are clumsy, your kicks weak, he just absorbs them. The fight is an exhausting, desperate cycle of grappling, shoving, and dodging those devastating kicks. You are wrestling for the future of your bloodline on an empty tank, and your opponent just topped up. He lands another kick, this one square in your chest, knocking the wind out of you and sending you stumbling backwards into the dust. He stands over you for a moment, chest heaving, not with exhaustion, but with dominance. And then he turns his back. The fight is over. He has won. You are left bleeding in the dark, every muscle screaming, having survived a predator only to be broken by a rival. You lie there, bleeding in the dust, the scent of your own failure sharp in the air. That brutal, humiliating fight for a future you couldn't secure. It feels like the end, but it isn't. Your life has been a series of impossible struggles right from the very beginning. So let's wipe the slate clean. Forget the hulking, scarred body you have now. Forget the dingoes and the rivals. Let's go all the way back. Back to a battle you don't even remember fighting, but one that was more desperate than anything you've faced since. You aren't born, you are expelled. A tiny, pink, translucent creature, no bigger than a jelly bean. You have no eyes to see with, no ears to hear with, no fur to protect you. You are barely more than a twitching nerve ending, slick with birth fluid, and utterly exposed to the vast, terrifying world. Then a wet, colossal force moves over you, a massive tongue clearing a damp path through a dense, suffocating forest of fur. This is your mother, but you don't know that. All you know is the path. An instinct you don't understand grips your entire being. Kill him. Your arms, miraculously, are already developed. They are tiny clawed hooks, and you haul your gelatinous, useless body upward, one agonizing millimeter at a time. It's a blind, vertical journey through a jungle of coarse, dusty hair. You can't see, so you just pull. You can't breathe properly, so you just suffocate and keep pulling. There is no top, no bottom, just an endless sense of up, a desperate scramble against gravity itself. Finally, your flailing hands find not fur but an edge, a warm lip of skin. You tumble over it, falling into a dark, fleshy cavern. This is the pouch. It's not cozy. It's a bare, confined space that smells of sweat and milk. But it is safety. It is the end of the climb. But your journey isn't over. Driven by that same blind need, you search the darkness until your mouth finds it. A small, fleshy nub. A teat. You latch on, and your jaw fuses shut. Your body, completely spent, goes limp. You have just completed the most important journey of your life. A 3-minute odyssey from birth to life support. Many of your potential siblings don't make it. They fall, get lost, or are born too weak to even begin. You survived your first trial not through strength or cunning, but through a blind, desperate, embryonic scramble. Welcome to the world. And for the next 7.5 months, this is your entire universe. A warm, dark, swaying sack of skin. You don't see the world, you feel it. Your reality is a constant, rhythmic pressure, the muffled thud of your mother's heartbeat, a permanent drum against your fragile body. The air is thick, a humid, musky concoction of sweat, milk, and the faint, dusty scent of the outside world seeping in. It's a sensory deprivation tank where the only input is the constant, warm trickle of milk from the teat. Your jaw is still fused to. You are not a creature. You are an extension of her, a tiny external organ floating in a fleshy cradle. Her life is your physics. When she leans forward to graze, your universe tilts slowly, pressing you gently against the soft front wall of the pouch. When she travels, her rhythmic, bounding hops are not graceful flights for you. They're a relentless, jarring churn, like being a lone sock tossed in a biological washing machine. Bounce, slam, bounce, slam. It's a mindless, sickening rhythm that you simply endure. But nothing prepares you for her panic. When that primal fear grips her, the scent of a dingo, the shadow of an eagle, her body explodes into motion, and your world becomes a nightmare. You don't know why it's happening. All you feel is a sudden violent chaos. You are thrashed from side to side, slammed against the muscular walls of the pouch, with bone-jarring force as she executes desperate high-speed leaps. It's the pure, distilled terror of a life-or-death chase, with none of the context. It's just brutal, chaotic motion in the suffocating dark. But through it all, you grow. The translucent pink skin thickens and sprouts a fine down of fur. The twitching becomes kicking. The cavern shrinks into a cramped, sweaty closet that barely fits you. Your jaw eventually unfuses, and one day, your eyes, sealed shut for months, finally open, and for the first time, through the sliver of an opening at the top of your warm, heaving prison, you glimpse a flash of blinding, overwhelming light, a swatch of impossible blue, a smear of red-brown earth. The world you never knew existed is finally, terrifyingly, coming into view. That glimpse of the world isn't enough anymore. The pouch that was your universe is now just a cramped, stuffy closet, and you're all gangly legs and clumsy elbows. Then one day, you're not just peeking out, you're out. You don't decide to leave, you more or less just fall out, tumbling in a heap of uncoordinated limbs onto the hard, red dirt. For the first time, the ground isn't a soft, fleshy wall. It's solid, and it's shockingly cold against your thin fur. Your legs, folded for months, are useless. They feel like two long, furry stilts that you have no idea how to operate. You try to stand and you wobble, your oversized feet getting tangled. You try to hop, and it's a pathetic, uncontrolled lurch that sends you sprawling back into the dust. Your huge, powerful tail, the one meant to be a perfect counterbalance, is just a dead weight you drag behind you. You are a masterpiece of locomotive design, trapped in a body that hasn't read the instruction manual. And the world you've entered is not the muffled, blurry place you saw from the pouch. The sounds are sharp, terrifying, and unfiltered. The sun is a physical weight, but the worst part is the sky. It's no longer just a sliver of blue, it's a vast, empty, terrifying expanse. And you learn very quickly that it is not empty at all. A shadow passes over you, impossibly fast, and your mother makes a low, guttural sound. Your brain, with no experience, screams a single, ancient word, eagle. Your only defense is your mother. You become her shadow, staying so close to her hind legs that you get kicked by accident. But you don't care, she is your shield, your early warning system, your entire reality. When she tenses, you freeze. When her ears swivel, your eyes dart in the same direction. There is no thought, there is only mimicry, because out here, a slinking fox in the tall grass or a wedge-tailed eagle circling high above doesn't see you as a kangaroo. It sees you as a perfect, bite-sized meal that just learned how to stand up. And at the first sign of real danger, a foot thump from your mother, a scent on the wind, your only instinct is to go home. You don't gracefully climb back in. You execute a blind, head-first panic dive, ramming your face into the pouch opening and scrambling desperately until you're back in the familiar sweaty darkness, legs probably still dangling out in the open. You are a young at foot now, but you know your life still hangs by a thread, and that thread leads directly back into the dark, swaying safety of your mother's body. But now, let's leave the familiar warmth of that heaving, sweaty darkness, because you aren't the one scrambling for safety anymore. You are the safety, you are the mother, and that frantic head-first dive of your clumsy offspring is just one small part of a burden so immense, it's almost beyond comprehension. The Joey at your feet, the you from a moment ago, is now a heavy-breathing appendage. He's not a cute, pocket-sized companion, he's a gangly, half-independent creature that still drinks your milk, still stumbles into your path, and still relies on you to be his shield against a sky full of eagles. Every ounce of his survival is a direct withdrawal from your own dwindling energy account. But he's not the only one. Inside your pouch, the one he just vacated, there is another life, a newer model, a tiny, pink, blind creature, permanently fused to a different teat, living out the dark, swaying existence you yourself once endured. And your body, in an act of biological genius, is producing two completely different types of milk simultaneously. High carb for the older Joey at your feet, high fat for the tiny embryo in the pouch. It's an incredible feat of multitasking that is silently draining you, drop by drop. And even that isn't all. Deeper inside you, in your uterus, lies a third possibility, a blastocyst, a dormant, paused embryo, no bigger than a grain of sand, waiting. It's a ghost of a life, held in suspended animation, waiting for a signal from the heavens, the signal of rain, of green grass, to begin its own development. You are a walking, breathing production line, one Joey out, one Joey in, and one waiting in the wings. You are simultaneously raising a toddler, nursing an infant, and carrying a frozen embryo, all while starving, thirsty, and perpetually scanning the horizon for death. You are a miracle of evolution, and you are one failed rainstorm away from total system failure. And then the rain doesn't come. The sky, once a canvas of promise, turns into a merciless, brassy shield, reflecting the heat back onto a dying world. The ghost grass you were chewing on is gone, turned to dust, and blown away by a hot, relentless wind. The ground cracks open like a gaping wound. The last muddy waterholes you remember now look like baked ceramic bowls, their bottoms littered with the tiny bones of birds who waited too long. This is the system failure you were dreading. The miraculous production line inside you begins to shut down, not with a bang, but with a slow, agonizing grind. The milk for your older Joey, the one at your feet, thins out first. It becomes watery, unsatisfying. He becomes desperate, nudging you, pouring at you with a new, frantic energy you can't match. Every plea is a fresh drain on a system that is already running on fumes. Then, your body makes a choice, a cold, brutal, biological calculation that has nothing to do with love or loss. It cannot support 3 lives anymore. It can barely support 1. The tiny, blind creature in your pouch, the one fused to life support, becomes a liability. Your muscles, which once held him secure, relax. The pouch loosens. One day, scrambling for a pathetic patch of shade, he simply falls out. You don't stop. You don't look back. You can't. To do so would be to waste the energy his sacrifice has just bought you. The constant gnawing of hunger becomes a sharp, deep ache in your gut. Your body, with no fuel coming in, turns on itself. Your fat reserves vanish. Then it starts to consume your muscle. Those incredible legs, the ones that could launch you across the plains, now feel heavy and weak. Every bound is a monumental effort. You feel your own ribs just beneath your fur. You are a walking skeleton, draped in red dust, kept alive only by the slow, painful process of your body eating itself. Your body eating itself has bought you a few more hours, maybe a day, but it's not enough. The sacrifice of the life in your pouch changed nothing, because the other one, the older one, is still here. He is a ghost at your heels, a constant stumbling reminder of a promise you can no longer keep. He tries to bound when you bound, but his movements are clumsy, his legs buckling with a weakness that mirrors your own. You can feel him nudging you, his nose pushing insistently at your empty pouch, searching for the milk that is now little more than chalky water. His desperation is a physical weight, another calorie you don't have, another demand on a body that is already in default. He doesn't understand. He sees you moving, and his only instinct is to follow, but he can no longer keep up. Or, you take 2 slow, weary hops, and he takes 3 frantic, unstable ones. You can hear his breath, a ragged, dusty panting behind you. Then he stumbles. You hear the soft thud as his body hits the baked earth. He lets out a thin, reedy cry. It's a sound that should stop you in your tracks, a sound that should send you rushing back. But you don't stop. You can't. To turn back is to die with him. Every instinct screams at you to save him, but a deeper, colder, more ancient command takes over. Survive. Your own legs are trembling, on the verge of collapse. The energy required to turn around, to wait, to nudge him back to his feet. You simply don't have it, so you keep moving, one slow bound, then another. The cries behind you get fainter, more desperate, and then they are swallowed by the vast, indifferent silence of the plain. You don't look back, you just feel his absence, a sudden, horrifying lightness. You have just walked away from your own child, leaving him to the sun and the eagles. It's not an act of cruelty. It is an act of mathematics. His life, or the microscopic chance of yours, and your body, in its brutal wisdom, has made the choice for you. The only thing left of your lineage is a speck of life held in suspended animation inside you, a gamble on a future that may never come. And so you keep moving, a ghost in a red-dusted skeleton, propelled only by a force older than grief. The silence where his cries used to be is a physical presence, a hollow space in the air behind you. Your body isn't a temple, it's a fortress under siege, and you've just thrown the last of your defenders from the walls to buy yourself another day of sun and thirst. This is not a victory, this is the price of survival in a world that has run out of credit. Let's pull back now. You can take a breath. Feel the solid ground beneath your feet that isn't radiating heat. The journey is over, and what we've just lived through is the brutal, hidden truth behind every majestic leap we've ever seen on a nature documentary. We think of the red kangaroo as a symbol of the outback's wild freedom, but we've just experienced it as a prison of biological imperatives, a life spent in a constant, desperate race, a race against the sun, against hunger, against a dingo's relentless stamina, against a rival's gut-ripping kick. Every single aspect of your being was a tool forged for this war. Your legs, not springs of joy, but engines of escape fueled by pure terror. That clumsy, five-pointed shuffle, a fuel-efficient gear for scouring a barren earth. The miraculous ability to cool your own blood with saliva, a desperate transaction that buys you minutes when you need hours, and that incredible, almost unbelievable production line of life, the Joey at foot, the infant in the pouch, the paused embryo in waiting, is not a gentle miracle of motherhood. It is an actuary's cold calculation, a brutal portfolio of assets to be liquidated when the market crashes, as it just did. The next time you see that iconic image, or a kangaroo soaring effortlessly against an orange sunset, hopefully, you'll see it differently. You'll know that the beautiful arc of its leap is an escape from something. You'll know that its stillness is not rest, but a siege. You won't just see a powerful animal, you'll see a survivor who began life as a blind, jelly bean-sized creature on a desperate, suffocating climb. You'll see a parent who might have had to make an impossible choice just hours before. You'll see a creature whose entire existence is a gamble on a single drop of rain, a hope held dormant, a speck of life waiting for the world to be kind enough to let it begin. You wouldn't last a day, but the red kangaroo endures, not because its life is easy, but because it is a masterpiece built for the hardest life there is.